Okay, excellent. All right. Well, welcome to the discussion session of Tuesday, February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. Let's see, we'll start with the agenda here. First item is reviewing the agenda items for tonight. And Nick McMeans, could you do the honors?
Sure. So in tonight's regular meeting of the commission, we will hold a public hearing on the ordinance to amend the administrative code related to boards and authorities. We will have a resolution authorizing the destruction of certain municipal records, the introduction of an application for an intermunicipal liquor license transfer, consideration of commencement of pension benefits, renewal of contracts for street rejuvenation and crack sealing, and the award of contracts related to the public safety building women's locker room expansion, which the commission heard about in discussion session last meeting.
Right. All right, next on the agenda. Oh, good. All right, next on the agenda, an update on the Mount Lebanon Partnership Strategic Plan. Doreen's coming on down. Doreen's still in the neighbor.
So I'll just join you here. And again, I think you have the slides.
I do. Hey, Sandy, can you promote me to being a panelist? I don't know why I didn't automatically do that. I raised my hand in the meeting, so you can join me as a regular participant instead of a panelist.
You click the blue button, it did that to me too, Ian.
The blue button.
If you click the actual hyperlink,
Oh, okay. Go back then.
get back and do it through the hyperlink.
Technology is great, except.
Exact, yes. All right.
Love it when it works when we want it to work.
Yes.
The way we want it.
Exactly.
Have your presentation.
Oh, that's fine. Well, while we're waiting, we can take any questions.
How are the odds?
They're doing great. Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about the partnership, a little bit of background while Ian brings up the slides. The partnership, for those who aren't aware, is a 501c3, basically community development corporation style organization. Okay, great, thanks. That operates really in collaboration with the municipality. And one of the things we did this year was engaged in a strategic review, not a full strategic plan, but a strategic review. And what we were looking to do is to build some consensus around the challenges, aspirations, focus areas, guiding principles, activities, and outcomes of the partnership, and then also assess and update the work plan through a strategic review process. We didn't feel it necessary to go through a full strategic planning process because we still had consensus around the vision and some of the key organizational elements of the partnership. So some things that we did initially, we really made sure that we were focusing on the central business district. We are a Main Street based organization, so we support Main Street principles. That's a big focus of what we do. So we looked at, the business mix in a couple of different ways. And I think you've all seen this before, but this is really one of the things that anchors the work that we do, our Uptown Business District. And the vision, again, we did have consensus around the vision, so that continued from our earlier strategic planning work in 2017, I believe. The Mount Lebanon Partnership makes Uptown Mount Lebanon's community serving business district a best-in-class regional destination. So again, consensus around maintaining that vision. We believe that's a critical element of what we do. When we think about strategic priorities for the partnership, again, aligned with Main Street principles, we really focus on 4 key areas: economic development and design, organization, promotion, and partnership and collaboration with the municipality.
Where's
So-
design?
I'm sorry?
Where's design? That's Main Street.
Economic development and design.
Oh, okay.
We have it in there. Absolutely will not miss out on that one. That's a critical piece of the
Yes,
work
it
that
is.
we do. We also made sure that we took a look at what had been submitted in terms of Main Street. Again, looking at those 4 key areas of organization, design, promotion, and economic vitality. So this was just a quick summary of some of the key elements. We are very grateful for the funding that we get from the commission that helps our organization do the good work that we do. And we hope that that continues. We are working on a succession plan for the executive committee, really thinking about pipeline, recognizing that there is turnover among boards, and we want to make sure we have consistency in the operation of the organization. We're also looking at the board schedule, making sure that we have a schedule that works for those members of the board, as well as gives us enough time together to really continue those good works. We're looking at funding for staffing needs. One of the things that we are looking at that really came out of this strategic refresh process was the need for some type of staffing to support our work. We do have, and we're very grateful for Eric Milliron as our liaison, but the partnership itself is looking at potentially a part-time or limited term executive director style person who can help the partnership move forward, because right now the partnership itself is an all volunteer organization. And we're looking at how we can support the Economic Development Council and the economic development and vitality work of the municipality. With design, of course, we were glad to have been included in the Vibrant Uptown Initiative. We're also looking at a P3 plan we had in place that looked at public art, working on design guidelines, and that's something in process now, and looking at uptown properties and how we might, again, help the municipality with some of the work that they're trying to do uptown. Promotion, we have focused on events. We have a couple of signature events. You're probably familiar with the Artist Market and the Uptown Market. We have a kids paint out. We support Eric and the municipality with the First Friday events. Some of the things we've looked at include a music fest, and that's something that's, again, under consideration. We've also, in terms of promotion, looked at social media. We've engaged in social media for the last several years, and we're now looking at doing some targeted marketing. And we've also looked at how we can better target the light rail demographic, those who are using transit, and how we might be able to get them to make that stop in Mount Lebanon. We also look at economic vitality, a number of things that we've looked at related to market data, related to transit-oriented development and how we might, again, support municipal efforts, and how we might work in collaboration with the Dennis Theater. So that's just a very quick overview of some of the things that were a part of the Main Street application process, and report some of the things that we're continuing to focus on.
Would you mind not knowing, for instance, is A+R?
Oh, that's Eric's shorthand.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know what.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry.
Attraction or retention.
Retention, thank you.
Yeah,
And the other one was the properties for TA and TA.
I'll have to look those up. I'm sorry, without Eric.
Oh, I
here. I
get it.
didn't have his shorthand.
Did you let the design guideline contract yet?
Yeah, the design guideline contract is in process. We have actually had our first meeting with the design firm that
Who
was
is the
awarded the
firm?
contract. That is Landmark. SGA. Yeah, so we had the first meeting, and so that's very early in the process, but it is moving forward.
Is it possible, this is the first couple slides that I can get, just want to get the statistics on.
Oh, I can get this.
For you or Ian, whoever,
Yeah.
just to get those.
Yeah, that's fine to share.
Yep, I can
Not a
forward it.
problem at all. Okay, so one of the interesting things that, well, I thought it was interesting, at least, we started our process with a pre-planning session where we got everybody together. And we really talked about, it's an activity that comes out of Luma Institute called Rose, Thorn, and Bud. So we worked through that activity with partnership board members to identify areas where we felt we were doing well. Those were the roses. Areas where we thought we had some challenges or things weren't going as well as we would have liked, those were the thorns. And areas where there was some potential, those were the buds. As we worked through those individually and then as a group, we actually looked at how they cluster into key areas of impact. So the clusters of impact that we identified in early fall included bringing people uptown, telling our story, getting resources, owning the uptown story, building our board, and effective engagement with the municipality. So those were some key areas that, again, mapped well to what the partnership has planned to do and fit well within our vision. We then were able to use these to help guide us as we move through the next step of the refresh process. For the refresh, we used a strategy blueprint as an outline for what we did, where we looked at areas like challenges, aspirations, focuses, guiding principles, and a few other areas that would help us to really look at where we can have impact and what we need to do moving forward. Some of the things that came out in terms of the agreed upon key challenges, main problems or issues that the partnership seeks to address included, a risk or concern around the relationship with the municipality. And that was an acknowledgement of how important it is for us to work collaboratively with the municipality. We really want to make sure to maintain that strong relationship. Another challenge area identified was related to the board itself. There's always potential when you have board member turnover, which is necessary, and that certainly will occur. But there's also that risk of disengagement, focus, or loss of skill sets that can happen. So we recognize that it's important for us to look at the board and board development as well. Awareness of what the partnership is and does. Right, that can be a challenge for us because sometimes we are the almost the silent partner. The identity that's behind some of the events. So we haven't necessarily promoted the partnership itself as much as we've tried to promote Uptown, the businesses, and the different events that we've hosted. So we recognize that is a challenge for us. And finally, funding, which really drives our ability to engage in activities to support Uptown. We came to some agreement upon guiding principles. So the guiding principles that came out of this refresh process included connectivity, inclusivity, innovation, accessibility, and sustainability. And that was important for us because we wanted to have some benchmark that would help us to prioritize the activities in the direction as we moved forward. So these will help provide a foundation for us. Once we did that, we started to assess activities and outcomes and measures for those activities. So a few of the key questions we considered there, how do we achieve aspirations while adhering to guiding principles and addressing focus areas? And what will we measure to determine success in achieving aspirations? These questions really helped us move forward with a work plan. And I'll share with you just a brief overview of the work plan, a few of the areas that we're taking a look at, and the way that we benchmarked. So we looked at some activities, for example, hiring a staff person. We were looking at somebody who would be, again, a part-time kind of exec director, operations manager person. We started to look at, what committee that would fall under, because we do have that 4-committee structure that focuses on the Main Street principles, and then what some of the measures of success might be. So some of the things that you can see on this first page, we were looking at that staff person. We were looking at developing a welcome letter for businesses. We're very fortunate not to have a high business turnover or vacancy rate in Uptown, but we recognize that changes do occur. So what can we do to welcome those businesses here? Hosting events for the businesses is something that we had done a bit prior to COVID. So we're looking at re-engaging in that process and helping the businesses feel, get connected and network, and also make sure they understand how vital they are for our Uptown area. We're working on the design guidelines. That process has already commenced. We're looking at a sustainable funding strategy. We think that's very important. And again, we're very grateful for the municipality support and also acknowledge that it's important for us to look beyond that for additional funding. We are looking forward to engaging in Vibrant Uptown Phase 2, looking at a public art master plan, willing to support real estate studies, some things that we've been doing with Town Center Associates already, to help again with Uptown vibrancy. Again, engaging with comp plan, very interested in being involved in providing whatever support we can. We're in the process of looking at a more targeted marketing campaign. We've already engaged with Mount Lebanon Magazine for part of that, and continuing on social media, wanting to promote the partnership a bit, but also more importantly, promoting Mount Lebanon and Uptown and its vitality. We're looking at a more effective board onboarding process, knowing again that board turnover will occur and wanting to maintain our consistency. So that onboarding could also include board socials. Again, the networking, the connections, the inclusion that we know helps people stay engaged. We would love to support the municipality in a Vibrant Uptown completion celebration. So we're willing to assist in whatever way necessary there. Some events that we want to continue, the Kids Paint Out, which is the outdoor event that we've done annually. The Secret Garden, which was a wonderful partnership in Clearview Commons. I believe the library assisted with that. Continuing the Artist Market, which we know brings many people and many vendors to Uptown every fall. Continuing with First Fridays, trying to build that to, again, bring people uptown and help support the business community. The Uptown Market and the Second Saturdays initiative to continue that, again, bringing people uptown and looking at winter and night market options that we could do in collaboration with the municipality. Again, that goal of getting people uptown, making sure we're supporting the businesses, making sure they're getting what they need so that they can maintain their own vibrancy, which then of course supports us. Because we know that people move to Mount Lebanon for several key reasons. School district is a big part of that. Public transit's a big part, but a vibrant uptown business district is really critical. So that's what we're looking to do.
Can I just say on this screen, can you go back to that?
Yeah,
This
absolutely.
one? That is an incredible amount of events and activities the partnership pulls off every year. So thank you.
On behalf of the partnership, you're very welcome. It's why we exist. We want to do this, and we're so grateful for all of the community support that we get, the municipal support, and all of the amazing volunteers, because the partnership is a fairly small organization with a wonderful board, but it is limited in size. And so we're so grateful for any volunteer and any other kind of assistance that we get. So thank you very much, Commissioner. And finally, in summarizing our strategic direction, again, maintaining the vision that we crafted several years ago, the key goal areas that again aligned with Main Street, and then looking at some strategies that came out of the strategic refresh that will help us do this. We call this our placemat. And glad to share that with you and get you all a copy of that. And Ian, I think you have a copy already.
That was the page I got. You got the placemat.
Fantastic. All right. And any other information that you need, please let us know. We're here to support the municipality, and we're willing to jump in and help where we can.
I'll just say that the board is fantastic. Truly, the partnership board has gelled in a way that is really neat to see the skill sets, the energy, the vision. I think the partnership is truly an asset here for the community, and I'm very impressed with all the work you guys are doing, and I've really enjoyed participating. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, I echo everything Commissioner Flynn said. I'm on the partnership as well. And I think that the branding issue, I'm glad that we're focused on that more, because it's just invisible, the amazing work the partnership does, and they do it so well, and everyone assumes that it's the government that's putting it on, or who knows how it really happens, a group of volunteers, and I want the partnership to continue to get credit. Because they deserve it. And that'll allow, that'll just allow there to be some continued, hopefully, revenue sources or sustainability. We'll know about it.
Thank you.
I like that the board is working to continue to kind of regrow itself. What I mean by this, that I remember it was, that was Ruben Kang's board. Well, Ruben has left the board now, moved to Boston, yet the board is still going strong. I think that says something about continuing that commitment to who was there before, who's there now, and who's going to be coming next, really working to keep that energy going. So that's great to see.
Thank you. Yeah, institutional memory is important, and making sure we can maintain that consistency.
And getting that never-ending supply of volunteers.
Yes, that's very, very helpful. Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions? Anything else that I can address for you?
Thanks for coming in tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, EV charging stations. Greg Wharton and Andrew McCurry is going to make a presentation. What's your computer?
Yeah.
I already have it. He's got his phone. Please turn it over to the one. I understand.
All right, good evening, Commission. As you know who I am, does everybody know Greg?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure. Less than a year, he's almost at his year anniversary here shortly, so he's been a good addition to the team.
And I've already got them hooked on Fats and Donuts, so success.
John, jump says, some more, please. Yeah. Yes, so tonight's presentation is about EV charging. What we've done so far, which is just a little brief summary for you and the community at large, if they don't know. We went down this path and we really started talking about putting in EV charging within the community with the overlook lot reconstruction. So when we did that project, it made sense. It was easy. Because we were tearing up the entire parking lot and we could get directly from a transformer to a logistical, made sense spot. So we went ahead and did it. So we put that station in at the end of 2021. Correct, 2021. So it was live and in color in December of 2021. That's really when it went.
And I was involved in that, and I have had some residents that ask, why is it in the location it is? Because usually EV spots have preferential location. And that, I just wanted to tell the public, that decision was made deliberately. We wanted to run lines down the entire parking lot so that we had the option to put spots wherever and expand it, obviously. But also, I personally, as ward commissioner, didn't want to give preferential treatment to EV spots that are the very first spots that are coming into the municipality, because it was a little controversial. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but why are we taking up 2 spots in this very coveted parking area? And then also giving them preferential treatment that we only reserve to accessible spots. So I wanted it to be a little bit more, not at all hidden or anything like that, but I just wanted it to be a popular decision and not to create animosity.
Well, the overlook lot, to remember back to what we did, it used to be an angled spot space.
Yes.
So we did some improvements on grading to where we then had to create those first spots are actually handicapped accessible spots. And there was some grading that needed to be done in order to accommodate that. So where it was, it made sense. It's on the line. We haven't heard anything back on our end, at least from the parking end, that people are displeased that it's there. They know it's there. They can find it.
Yeah.
It's not hard for them to find. EV drivers know how to find their electricity.
Yeah, at first people were a little bit annoyed because the whole lot's full and the EV spots are empty. But then sure enough, a couple months later, the EV
Yes.
people found it
Yes.
and EVs are even more.
And that was a little snafu of us being a newbie, is we had to make sure that it all synced up. So
Uh-huh.
the south garage, when we installed that here a couple weeks ago, it's definitely on the app. And we made sure it was on the app. We were able to log in, make sure it was all pointed out. So, so we went down that path. So we talked about a year from then to kind of give you the stats of where we're at. So the other location we'll talk about was just installed at the beginning of February. It's actually right in that corner.
Yeah.
It's right here
Yep.
in this corner of the lot. It's on the second floor. We'll talk about why we put it there in just a second. But at least let's talk about the data that's within it. So we get this data through the company that is called ChargePoint, who is the station manufacturer. Items that are on this dashboard, yes, it's tiny. Items that are on this dashboard that we can get the information on is the station usage, the status of the station. So these are how many ports we have. So this is as of today, we have 4 ports, 2 stations, 2 ports each. So we have 4 ports. The real-time power usage, the number of unique drivers, the number of sessions, the average session length, the financials, the energy usage, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of data here that we can compile. So Mr. Ward, to my right here, compiled some of these data off these dashboards. So in the last 365 days, there was 932 sessions total. Energy used was 8,216 kilowatts. Greenhouse gas savings was 5,833 kilograms. And the revenue collected was about $2,684. So that's revenue collected. Obviously, we are paying for the electricity to power this. That total cost was approximately $1,200. So we netted about 1,400 in that lot. So the pricing structure in that lot is you're going to pay for parking and the electricity, right? Because it's a surface lot. So that structure combines both a profit for what would be 932 sessions at $1,200 net. It's about $1 a session. And if you look, a little over $1 a session, which if you look at the duration, it makes sense. So the pricing model, I think, is right where it's gonna be because it should be $1 an hour, right, for that lot. So we're right in that ballpark of where we should be for the parking revenue to recoup those spaces of the use of those spaces.
Does the revenue go to the parking fund?
It does.
Okay.
It does. They also paid for the stations. So The
There
park
we go.
funded, so
Makes
it
sense.
follows, right? In addition, we do enforce those spaces, so we enforce those spaces that if you are not, it doesn't matter if you're an electric car, you must be charging to not,
Oh,
That was my
to not
question.
be in violation.
So, yeah, I was gonna say, these stats are not representing anybody that's sitting there and not charging.
That's
We wouldn't
correct. You would
have
get
that- we wouldn't
ticketed.
have that data, but
Correct.
they would get ticketed,
That's correct.
so they're not gonna be there
Yes.
very long.
That's correct. They first get a warning.
Okay,
We don't just immediately ticket them, especially if they paid at the meter. If they haven't paid at the meter and they're not charging, they're gonna get a ticket.
Yeah.
Right, that's part of the enforcement side, but they do get a warning if you're not charging
okay,
or you're not an electric vehicle.
Okay.
You will get a warning that says, hey, I know you paid here, but this is electric vehicle only. And you must be charging at the time.
interesting.
So we went as a transient law.
So you said there were 900 sessions?
That's
900 sessions over 1 year. That's 3 sessions a day on average,
Mhm.
and each session is an average of 2 hours, so we have 6 hours on average per day of charging. It's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Once
so
there's a
Sunday
graph-
doesn't
there's a
count.
graph in here as well, you can see there's a lot of spikes with the sessions. This is the accumulated one. If you go to the next one, I'll actually show you.
Oh,
As you can see, it consistent throughout, but you can see there's some dips and peaks and
Yeah.
dips and peaks. A lot of these ones that are dips are midweek. A lot of the peaks are weekend when people are patroning the businesses and things like that. Obviously, you see, I think it was right around June, early June, there was a spike there was 10 sessions that day. So, but it's in a steady increase. If you see the green line,
Yeah.
line's that steady increase. So it's pretty much just a continual usage of the stations. So, yeah.
I have a question for Andrew, just to make sure I understood the numbers. You mentioned 2684 in revenue collected minus roughly $1,200 for the cost of electricity. Did you then also subtract out if someone is a charging station is not using a meter? So there's some,
It's built in, that's why we enforce the way we do. So you don't pay a meter on top of that.
okay, so all right.
Built
So-
in.
That's why you
Combined.
enforce the charge.
That's why you enforce that you need
Yeah.
to be charging at the time.
There's not really a loss of.
That's why I was trying to explain was that we didn't really lose a meter. I think we priced it correctly.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
So it's made to be, you charge for 2 hours, you're paying for parking and a little bit of the electricity.
Uh-huh.
You stay longer, you're gonna pay for more and we're gonna have more revenue, parking revenue for it, but we're willing to eat the fee, so to speak, for that first hour or two.
Mhm.
But then if you wanna charge longer, which you can, you have up to 8 hours and that's in that space, you can charge for up to 8 hours, you're gonna pay more. It starts to balloon
Yeah.
towards the end.
What's it cost for the whole 8 hours if someone's gonna work, for example?
They want to charge for the entire 8 hours, I believe it's $11 or $12.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
gonna add up. They're not
Yeah.
gonna really want to do that every day.
And that's what we're, because it's a transient loan.
Better than driving downtown and parking.
It's better than being in town, but. yeah.
And so I just wanted to mention, so the overlook lot, I think one of the big reasons it started to spike was because people now found us. So we're connected with the ChargePoint network. But there's also a website called PlugShare, where you can find any. So that doesn't necessarily need to be a charge point or a Tesla supercharger station or anything like that. It can be private commercial that, hey, you're going to visit a friend at an apartment building, they may have it.
Okay.
And is it advanced? So it tells you if it's public, private, because like if you go to Children's Hospital, for instance, right, in the basement, there's charging ports. Are those public or not? That's what PlugShare would tell you. And so we're on that app as well. Both now both are on there as well. So
Awesome.
You have some really dumb questions of. I think when you gas the car, you know when the tank is full. With electricity, you plug in your electricity. Is it the sort of thing where someone says, yeah, I'll plug in, it takes 3 hours to charge up the car, but we'll leave the car there for 8 hours? I mean, with it,
You have a phone app that tell you.
yes,
well, no, the idea is someone saying, great, I paid for 3 hours of electricity, then I left the car there for another 5. Because it's a parking space. I don't know if that,
yes, they could do that, but part of our enforcement is that we can see if you're charging or not, if electricity is
Yeah, that
flowing
has
to
to
your
be
car.
charged.
okay, all right, so if
We
somebody
have the ability to see that.
car is fully charged, it's just sitting there, it's like.
That's part of that dashboard.
Okay,
If it's not, so on.
okay, thank you.
I cannot take a fake plug and put it on, take it on my arm. I don't think.
We thought of that.
The idea, this is a recording.
I like it.
Maybe you got more.
I got a little bit more, but, so I guess these are all the stats. So, let me go back to the south garage. So we're gonna go back here. All right, so, the south garage is, we settled on the south garage for a number of reasons. One, is it was the most logical, the run of where we could get the electricity. Two is it's not the most transient of lots, so people could park there for long periods of time and in prime in a spot that we think is ADA accessible. We wanted to make sure that was there, it's a flat line right to an elevator. We didn't want to have an ADA spot in the north, we're gonna talk about other spots, but North Garage, so we settled on this spot. We thought it was a good spot for our next one in Uptown. We put it in this corner specifically because we plan on, if we decide in the future to expand within the south garage, which we know we're having discussions for the comp plan and all those things, but if we were ever to go to expand here, it would go up.
So essentially, we'd have another station on the third floor.
Correct. Yes, and we built the conduit to do so, so we're ready to do that if we want to go up. So there would be a charging station in every corner.
Yeah,
So
makes sense.
so that's what we did. So the signage will be going up in the next couple of weeks. We're not doing one on we're gonna do it at the entrance. So if you pull in with an electric car, you'll know there's EV station. It's not gonna be, so it's, if you're in the garage, you're coming here, you're not coming here just to charge, that type of thing. So that's where it'll be on the front bollard as you go in the garage. That's been in for a couple of weeks. There are permit holders here, so it's a slightly different rate here because we've captured you. In a surface lot, we have not captured you because you can just freely leave without paying, right? If we're not enforcing, whereas a south garage, you're already paying, whether it be by permit or upon exit, you're paying for parking.
I'm still laughing at you. We've captured you.
We've captured you. So it's a slightly different parking. So it's the first hour is free. We're not charging for the first hour. For EV
For
only,
EV
correct.
only, but
Yes,
not
if you want to
public.
use the port, but if you wanted to leave, you're still paying $1.50.
You want to use the port,
Yes,
it's free,
it's free for the first hour.
but to leave, you're still gonna pay $1.50.
That's correct.
One day I want free first hour parking.
But that's a whole different
I know,
ballgame.
I
That's a whole different
I'll
ballgame.
just every now
But that's, the idea is that, hey, it's a nice service, an add-on, a build up to that, and then it's $1 an hour thereafter.
Okay.
No spike, no balloon, just $1 thereafter.
and then.
Okay, we've been working hand in hand with a resident at 750. Who did some analysis for us. Yes, we are low in our rate. We could probably charge more. I will be honest with you. I came up with the rate looking at other garages around, whether it be in the city, Shady Side, those types of things, looking at other garages. Generally, an hour of parking is $2 in these other garages for EV charging. I didn't want to go as high as them. I wanted to encourage it being in there. We could explore the rate later. But let's get people in there charging and get the purpose of people knowing about it. So that's how we came up with that structure.
Let's get into demand. Yeah, I like that approach. When you leave though, how do you leave without paying? If you parked in the EV?
The EV transaction is completely separate than your parking transaction.
So you also have to pay the parking?
Correct. Correct.
So you pay
Yeah,
the
you
parking.
It's all on your phone.
You pay parking for that first hour, but not EV.
A lot,
Right.
it's not on
That's
your phone
correct.
though, there's a person in there that can
Correct.
take it.
That's correct. You're still, the parking aspect doesn't change.
So I still have to talk to.
But
the
if you want to
person.
put electricity into your car, you're paying for it through a separate medium, which is your charge point
Right.
app,
Right.
which all EV owners, I imagine, have.
And you
But-
don't have to talk to the person because you can prepay, you can pay.
I
it.
can do that machine thing. or whatever.
I do that all the time.
Overlook, I don't pay separate for parking.
That's
if we're
correct.
Charging.
Because we have no way of, we built that into the rate
Yeah,
already.
Built it into the rate. But
Correct.
at the garage, you have to get out. So I
That's
gotta pay
correct.
my,
Correct. Yep. So that's why there's slightly different rates. So I wanted to make sure we
Thank
explain
you.
that. Yep. So as part of this municipality for our property, so we're talking about potential sites. So we looked at, we were contacted by the Duquesne Light program. So Duquesne Light has a program in which they install the infrastructure at their cost, but it's a 10-year agreement. Okay,
what do they want?
that's,
For the 10 years.
Here's first point.
You have to pay it back if you exit the agreement or remove the stations.
They get the electric, they get the money.
They get the money, they get the electricity coming through, so on and so forth, but they'll install the infrastructure. But they've got to decide if the site's right for them. Okay, so we looked at all these sites. We did not come on agreement upon any of them. The only one that they were willing to do is the North Garage lower. We'll talk about that in just a second. It's the only one they were in agreement to do. So sites we did look at, this is something Greg and myself looked at with the Duquesne Light representative. One was the Academy lot. There's actually see my mouse here. There's a transformer. Say again?
Who did the original ones?
What do you mean?
We
Did
did
the
it.
original?
Not the original machines.
An overlook.
You mean who installed them?
Yeah.
Sure, it's just a private electric
We
company.
paid for it.
Yes, yeah, electrician came in and did it for us.
Would that not be an option for us?
No, absolutely. That's what we ended up doing in the South Garage.
Oh, got it.
Yes, yeah. So we hired our own, we did it all on our own. We didn't go through Duquesne Light for any of these programs. So we did look at all these locations and these kind of make sense. We looked at the Academy lot. There's actually a transformer right here. So the most logical for a Duquesne Light installation would have been these first 4 spots right here. Okay, there's other areas that we could do it, but it would probably cost us more money to do that, do it ourselves, but that was where they had looked. So Academy at this point is pretty full all the time. As is Overlook, I'm not gonna lie, Overlook's pretty full all the time too. But it is a location we did look at. There is a possibility we could install that ourselves from there.
And are you asking for commission direction or
No.
anything on that? Just.
We're just giving you FYI the locations we've looked at. Okay,
Duquesne said no to putting it in by the transformer. They're-
yes, it did not make sense for them.
They're not gonna do it, but we would do it in that location probably.
Yes.
But then that's another
Yeah,
issue.
we have, so things we didn't look at, we didn't go down that path yet, is both of the pay stations are electrically wired. They're not solar like the other ones.
Okay.
You'll notice there's canopies over them.
Yes.
They're hard to charge. So there's electricity we're obviously paying for to get those machines on. So it could be more of an infrastructure to the middle island, but that's where we looked with them because of where the transformer location was. So there is the possibility of going more towards the middle berm for a
Maybe
charging
okay with
station, bank of charging stations.
Did Duquesne Light say why not for Academy? It's just they're looking for certain repairs or what?
They didn't really give a reason, no, not that.
They don't have to, their utility.
I was gonna say, like, they made the North Garage.
I think they're engineering.
Academy nuts. I don't know if there was some tipping point of, it has to have 50 spaces or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But unless there was like some crazy reason, why would we want to enter into a 10-year agreement with them?
Right.
And I think sorry,
No, go ahead.
Yes, if not, no.
and to follow up on Commissioner Rainey's point about commission approval, I think to go back to something Doreen mentioned during her presentation with the Vibrant Uptown Phase 2 planning. This is something we've all discussed internally to consider as part of that next phase with the, as we're considering public art and other things within the Uptown District, where does it make sense to have these EV charging stations within the Uptown District as well?
Yep. So another area we looked at was the rec center. We looked at the commissioner's lot up here, up on this side, where it's not really in this picture. But we also looked at, there's a transformer down here. This is going to be the most costly. It does not make sense. Duquesne looked at it and went, we're not touching this, because it's underground.
Oh, yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah, they, so we did look at the location. We thought possibly using these 4 spots down here. Could be a bank of chargers. This actually, paying it forward, oops, I did not mean to touch that, but paying it forward, we did get the Duquesne Light program in contact with the school district. And the school district is moving forward with them there's a transformer actually at the base of the football field.
Wow.
That they're putting a bank of charging stations in there and they're gonna try and electrify their fleet. As they
They had in their school board meeting
Yeah.
last night.
Yeah.
Talked
So
about electrifying
that was
their fleet.
something, hey, they didn't know about the program. We said, hey, I'd contacted the business manager in our relationship with the school district and said, hey, make sure you get in contact, let's connect these two. Because she looked at it, she's the woman that was with us, said, hey, this makes sense. Let me contact the person and they're gonna go move forward. It was like, so,
Big win.
yeah, so that's good.
So we can take credit for electrifying the school.
Sure. Well, we can all take credit with our tax dollars, but, You know, all of our tax dollars would pay for that too. So, next location was the North Garage.
Go back to the rec center area. So you said Commissioner Lot would be the most likely spot.
No, there's nothing up there.
There's nothing.
Is there anything there? Any possibilities there?
no.
Okay, so
There's no
no,
electrical run up there.
hard no, too expensive, maybe
Up
later.
to Commissioner's Lot,
What?
but the option down by the memorial.
But do
Yes.
like that.
Kids that know.
If we do it
No,
ourselves.
This is all underground. We would not be doing it.
No.
So
We also looked at the commissioner's lot. That was a no-go because
There's nothing
it's too
over
long
there.
of a run to get there. And
Yeah.
so
For us, it would be Duquesne Lane.
us or Duquesne Lane, right? It was kind of a non-starter, but we did look at we're looking at our facilities. Another one we don't have on the pictures is the library. And based on where it's such a long run and a tight parking lot and so on and so forth. Plus they use shared parking with the church and those types of things. So that was a no-go as well. So we looked at our facilities.
But we must have we must have some electricity that's pretty high
No,
electricity
no, it's a
in the
buried
building.
box. It's
Buried. It's underneath the
big-
ground.
Underneath the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, to dig it up
Mhm.
in a metal box.
Yeah, and you'd have to, it's actually back right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're digging all the way out here to get to here.
Yeah, that's expensive.
Yeah. It's a big it'd be a big project to get.
Okay. And besides, if we're gonna do something with the recreation center, that might be the time to do it. You might be
Well-
excavating for something, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah.
We also hypothesized about being 16 at July 4th, late at night and having charging stations sitting there. It's a opportunity for, yes, so it may not be the best location for other reasons besides
Right.
the cost and expense. So, those activities and those types of things. So, we've seen some defacement that would amaze you. So,
Yeah,
sometimes you gotta.
Yeah.
So last is, we were talking about was the north garage. So the north garage does have the possibility, our biggest concern was the ADA side. When we looked at this, the building code was changing in which if you put a charging station in, you had to have a certain number of them had to be ADA accessible when you put a charging station in. So the ramp of where we would put it in the north garage was too steep
yeah,
of where it made sense with the electrical run.
right.
So that may need to be revisited. They rolled the code back, but we're not really in the MO of not being ADA accessible.
Right.
We don't want to just do it for a
No.
code side. So didn't really make sense. The best location actually in the north garage is actually the entrance off of Parse Way. So right under this deck, right under Parse Way here, was actually the best one that Duquesne Light was willing to consider.
Okay,
To then go to the next step and have engineering really fully look at it on their end. There's actually a transformer right at the base here on the ground.
Okay.
Issues we have with the lower lot, is if you have, I don't know how much a Tesla is, I'm guessing it's between $80,000 and $100,000 car.
All of them?
Not all of them, but okay, so let's say, we have a real big pigeon issue down
Yes, you
there.
do.
And I think, one of the first things before we start talking EV down there is getting a better control. So, in your next CIP, we should be seeing.
No, birth control.
Very well, there's some screening, and there's some other things we've never done, plus a garage, an actual up and down garage. That upon entry, it's pressure, he goes up, comes out, so on and so forth.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I
So-
know what you're talking about. Sure.
Before you go EV, is eliminate pigeons. There you go.
Yes, something of that nature, yes, yes. So in aspect of the Super Bowl commercial, we might be at a preemptive, what is it, premature electrification here. So, but there are some other issues there, but that lower level does make the most sense for everyone. Even if the Duquesne Light program's around and we want to explore that, it's probably gonna be a good location to do it. With East End Brewing opening
Yeah.
up soon, that parking may be ramping up sooner than later, so that's another reason why with a retail in and out type thing where the North Garage is gonna need to have, we wanna do that capital project and really get that before the commission the next couple of years to handle some of that, address some of that pigeon issue down there, which they've had since they built the garage in 1994.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
This issue's been around since
Forever.
1994.
Yeah.
So
It's
not
the way it was
got-
designed.
Just-
The issue is with the way the garage was designed for the pigeon issue. There's stoops for them to sit on. That's where it's at. So I know probably a little bit over time because I can fill time. is, there's really not other locations for public retail on our side of the municipality. As we go down the electrification side for municipal vehicles and things that we're looking at in the future. There's locations that we're gonna have to, if we do decide to electrify our fleet, between the public works garage, that area, and the public safety center. Those are two areas that Duquesne Light also has a fleet program.
Oh,
And we will be exploring that in the years to come
Okay.
with them about how different municipalities and even commercial businesses are electrifying their fleets and how they're building the infrastructure around it to power it.
Okay.
So that's a big issue for us when it comes to, I know the commission has asked questions about, have we considered electric? Well, we have, in the fact that we've got to get to the infrastructure first. Because we got the power.
certification.
And we got other issues to correct about training and working on those vehicles. And so it's a long game. It's not a short game for sure. So we're looking at those things as they arise and come to us. So.
Andrew, what about the lot down here, any options, or is that still too far from the South Garage to try and have an EV station out here?
We've never broached that, but we could certainly ask. I know that they've had issue, we've tried to even get lights in that parking lot. So I know that that's one of our safety issues that we've wanted to address, is getting more lighting down there. That could be part of that project if we do decide to expand that. So I'll present that to Phil Avolio, because that is part of his safety assessment of the property.
Also, you can't possibly make it ADA accessible either. Grade is.
It's the balancing the grade versus enough cars parking back there, maybe run off one of the poles, just one more opportunity to electrify.
Yeah, I mean, that's just for municipal employees right
Yeah.
now, and with that being a municipal employee lot, it fills. So, we're actually over capacity by 2 employees per spots.
I mean, our employees aren't driving Teslas?
Prius.
Commissioners aren't either. So point
What
that out.
about the South lot? Any consideration there?
Too small,
Too small.
too small, too in and out, correct.
Yeah,
That's
Cheaper
correct.
space. South
That's
Garage.
correct.
yeah.
Alfred would probably be the same problem, just too few.
So wherever the Alfred kind of Parsway, Vibrant Uptown Phase 2, Alfred lot is gonna have to be considered.
Okay.
Even though it's that small,
Correct.
it's the same way with South Lot, without Alfred, same problem.
If you're gonna be tearing stuff up, you may tear it up to do a
Put some
more,
conduit in at least.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So, let's throw out far-fetched ideas, right? Let's throw them out.
Sure.
Do an all EV lot,
What about the
you
lot?
can do that sort of thing. So there's all those types of things that need to be discussed as part of our planning processes.
That'll change.
But right now, they're too small, right? For just putting into or port charging stations.
Change behavior.
Yeah.
Well, Alder's on Uptown on Main Drag,
Ballers on Uptown, EV lot.
all the electric charging bollards, that's another option.
On the sidewalks?
Structurally, right, I love this, right, I've been.
Yeah.
Talking about this for a long time, but I do think that it is an interesting discussion that has been coming up about the EV fires. And
Yes.
the structural challenges related to that.
Yeah.
I see Chuck Chief is here.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that.
It's an interesting challenge, right, to put these charging stations in a structure, because if an EV does catch fire, it's a challenge, right, Chief?
They do not go out.
Right, so.
No, you have to use special
So,
material.
I think, and I emailed you the question, but I think it's a broader question of, as we are thinking about promoting or supporting multifamily parking structures who are looking to do this, how do we think about any building requirements? And is the fire department doing to prepare for this? Because it's coming.
So you don't mind if I jump in real quick? This was actually something we were talking about in our staff meeting last week. Would the commission like a future discussion session topic from the fire department on kind of their recommendations on safe EV practices and
Yes.
things like that?
Yes.
Yes.
We can do that.
And we're still learning. I mean, it's.
Yeah, that's okay.
it's becoming a new challenge that
Yeah.
no one is quite figured out yet.
But I
Sure,
think,
okay.
Michelle, please share with us. We want to spread that word. So whenever you're ready.
I think we should combine that with what Andrew's talking about with, we may need to update zoning or even,
Building codes.
building codes. to address that.
Huh?
You know, like we've got
With Rodney and.
fire door
Yeah.
ratings for buildings and,
Right.
you know, things like that. We probably need, or will need.
Yeah, well, and what really dawned on me was, you know, when you buy a new EV, not that I have, but, you know, but no one that's bought one says, oh, and there's a warning that says, if you're charging in your garage underneath your bedroom, there's the possibility of uncontrollable fire,
Right.
right? Again, it won't sell well.
That's all.
So is there an opportunity, right, for us to say, hey, congratulations, this is great that you're doing this. Beware, that there are certain that we would recommend you do.
Put your charging station over here,
Right,
right?
exactly. And obviously, it's easier to put them in your garage underneath a bedroom, right? I get that, but from a safety perspective, are there recommendations that we would make that maybe we're not even going to enforce, but at least it's that prompt to get people to understand the risk, knowing that the battery technology is changing rapidly right now, and they might
Yeah.
solve this in the next 4 years. But in the interim, yeah, again, how do we provide that public service announcement?
There's gotta be
It's good.
some kind of building codes out there from a number of states. that-
Yeah, you
They
would
haven't
think.
caught up yet either.
They haven't caught up. Yeah.
Even say building codes haven't caught up yet.
Right.
So to scope the conversation, it sounds like there's a lot of problems and not a lot of answers. So we're not looking at chief to solve anything. Let's just
No,
bring
no.
bring up the problems and do what we can to mitigate them.
Presentation on best practices from the fire
Yeah.
department, what they
What we
know,
know.
what we've done internally to prepare as a department. What technologies we're using, so I know we have some materials on hand that if there are, God forbid EV fires in Mount, then we have some material.
What we have on hand right now is to deal with your small portable batteries.
Right.
We don't have anything to deal with a vehicle on fire, although we're looking at that.
Yeah.
And the likelihood isn't any greater than having a gasoline powered vehicle on fire. My concern is that we have one of these, not so much outside, but we have one of these in the parking garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the experience is it can take up to 12 hours to put one of these out. I wouldn't want it to cause structural damage in the parking garage. Like when we're looking at the north garage, that lower lot is great because it's actually sprinklered,
Oh, really?
where in the south garage we're not.
I thought, I read something the other day, and forgive me, I can never remember where I read anything on the internet, but I do try to check my sources, but it was about the fact that the EV batteries themselves were catching on fire and you couldn't use water to put them out. That there was some type of chemical that's gone from my head, some type of chemical.
The real issue with a vehicle on fire
Yeah.
is you have a gas battery that's located in the vehicle somewhere, usually in the
Yeah.
center of the vehicle.
Right,
You can put the fire out per se. You can't get into the casing of the battery. In the battery, there's cells. There may be, like in a smaller battery that you have on a drill, there might be 5 cells. And
right.
each one of those cells will go individually over a period of time. This might have 100 cells. I don't know what's in an EV vehicle.
Mhm.
So when that cell goes, it's just heating the other cells, and they're gonna continue to go into a thing they call thermal runaway until all the cells are burned up. Which could take quite a while.
Sure.
What we're looking at right now, and the city of Pittsburgh, I believe, is gonna adopt, they've tried several things, is they make a blanket. And believe it or not, you place this blanket.
That's interesting. Yeah.
It's supposed to keep it from, as it goes into thermal runaway, the sparks flying and everything. So if they actually display this blanket in a garage, a parking garage of all places. And they show it in 3 cars parked and actually place the blanket over the car that's on
Uh-huh.
fire in the middle. And then they place a special nozzle underneath to try to cool it, but it's still probably a 5 or 6, 7 hour operation until it's safe to move,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah.
Contains it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, we haven't had one. We haven't had a gasoline powered vehicle on fire in a parking
Yeah.
garage. So the odds are probably low, but when we do have one, hopefully we don't,
Yeah,
it's gonna be a real challenge.
sure.
And I think what it quickly came to my mind is that it's not necessarily the fact that it's a car. It's an EV, or it's a battery.
Right.
And there are people and there are retailers selling battery banks as an alternative to a generator. If I was thinking about where I would put one, it's in my basement. Same problem, right? So this is more than just EV, this is
Sure.
more than
Yeah,
EV
yeah.
discussion. I think,
Yeah.
I'd love to see this discussion be about how are we thinking about building codes, right?
Mhm.
Related to lithium, essentially lithium ion battery, power storage. Recognizing that EV is one big one, but there are others that I think, again, at least how are we informing residents,
Yeah, I mean, I think looking at the public safety
Yeah.
announcement, sort of that angle, the things coming from there. We're actually running out of time for this segment. It's a great segment. And we look forward to the chief giving us information when he's ready, and to get this public safety announcement out. Meantime, thank you both for that presentation.
Yes, great work on this stuff.
Yeah.
It's a long time coming, and I know Ms. Garrity really appreciate it.
Next on the list, Alom, ALOM, Banner Community. Ian
Yes.
McMeans will make that presentation about how well we did.
Yes, so thank you, commissioners. I am pleased to announce that Mount Lebanon has been named a banner community for the 10th consecutive year. So kind of like what we did with the police department when they achieved their accreditation, they gave the commission an overview on what that accreditation means. I'm here to sort of briefly run through what it means to be a banner community through ALOM. So ALOM is the Allegheny League of Municipalities. It was originally set up kind of back in the 1960s and has progressed from there. They started the Banner Community Program 11 years ago. And the Banner Community Program is designed to honor municipalities and authorities that distinguish themselves as model communities through their commitment to sustainable practices, including professional development, intergovernmental cooperation, sound fiscal management, and proactive communications. So kind of like what the commission heard with the presentation on the fire department accreditation, there's a number of qualifiers that we had to complete, and I'm proud to say we kind of blew away all of the standards that they had set for like what you needed to do to be a banner community. So our first year of being a banner community was in 2014. This is the 10th consecutive year. This year, 84 total entities achieved the banner community status. So some of those were municipal authorities. Some of them were not located in Allegheny County, even though it's called the Allegheny League. Like Cranberry Township, Butler Township, some other ones, Peters Township from outside of the Allegheny County region have also been named as banner communities. So of the 130 municipalities in Allegheny County, about half of them, 76, achieved the banner community designation this year. So just to sort of run through quickly what some of the requirements are: participation in intergovernmental organizations. We do that quite a bit. Primarily through SHACOG with our Council of Governments, but also we have a commission appointee as the delegate to ALOM. And then also our shared services through MRTSA Animal Control and our newly christened shared service with the Borough of Norwalk, where we are providing financial management services for them. On the professional development side, there was 4 categories and you had to do 2 of them to be considered a banner community. We do all 4. So, newly elected officials participating in the LGA's course, all of our elected officials, once elected, have run that. And that's going back quite a long time, not just this group, but previous commissioners as well. Municipal education conferences, we participate in PELRAS as well as a number of others. PELRAS is a labor relations conference that we do every year. We participate through the DCED Main Streets program, other municipal training programs through the Local Government Academy, Connect, and a bunch of other ones that we participate in. On the pension, finance, and employee benefits side, we do all of these. So there's 9 in total. They're kind of broken into 2 sections. I'm not going to read through all of them, but within the first section, the benchmark, you had to complete 3 of 4, but we do all 4. The second part, you had to complete 4 of 5, but we do all 5. So once again, we are kind of exceeding and going above and beyond what the banner community standard is. Also on the comprehensive planning side, the benchmark there to be considered a banner community is completing 3 out of these 4, and we have all 4 of them, including our currently underway comprehensive planning process through Ascend Levo. And I know that since Mr. Wharton's in the room, he's been working with the Sustainable Pennsylvania, Sustainable Pittsburgh folks on updating our sustainability certification. They just changed the requirements at the end of last year. There used to be this lengthy list of things you had to complete, and they completely revamped the requirements. So I'm assuming that at some point soon, within the next few months, Mr. Wharton will be back in front of the commission talking about our sustainability certification and how it's been updated to a level above silver, because we've looked through it and we're pretty certain we meet all the requirements.
Pretty substantial change in leadership as well. So there was a lot of there's a lot of fluctuation with a lot of stuff going on, but hopefully they're gonna be some consistency and get this thing moving forward, so.
Okay, and then finally, on the emergency preparedness side, maintaining a emergency operations manual, a hazard mitigation plan through Allegheny County, and having an appointed emergency management coordinator. A few years ago in the budget, the commission actually funded that emergency management coordinator as a full-time position in the fire department. So we not only have an appointed one, but we have one that's a paid employee on staff. And then finally, communications and community outreach. This also is broken down into two sections. The first section, the benchmark was completing 2 out of 3. We do all 3. Notably, you know, having a community newsletter or annual report. We have the Mount Lebanon Magazine, which is mailed to every household in the municipality 10 times a year, along with additional content on lebomag.com. You know, posting agendas to the municipal website, having a social media presence, having mobile and email alerts such as our Lebo alerts and Lebo emergency that we have. And then on the other set of requirements, you know, 3 out of the 4 of them need to be completed to be considered a banner community. We once again do all 4, including our junior commissioner program plays into that, which we have our junior commissioner here with us as well. So overall, that is a quick rundown, because I know we were relatively short on time, of the banner community program. And I think it really speaks to, you know, the quality of service that we're able to provide, that the commission consistently provides funding for throughout our annual budget cycles, that we're able to kind of go above and beyond what sort of the standard is for a premier community. That, you know, there's all these things that say, do 2 out of these 3 to be considered a leading municipality, and we do all 3 of them, or, you know, complete 4 out of these 5 to be considered one of the top municipalities, and we do all 5 of them. So I think it really speaks to the staff that we have here, the quality of service that we provide, and the commission's continued willingness to provide funding so that we can do all of these things, and for the 10th consecutive year be considered a banner community within the region.
Cool. Thank you to everybody involved in making that happen. Commissioners, any questions, comments?
Very curious what our stretch goals are. How do we, right, I mean, it's great, right? And I-
5 for 5.
Well, if our threshold is that currently, and 76 municipalities in the county achieve that, which is great, right? But what are we striving to be? And how do we set new benchmarks? Because clearly we're here. So what's next?
So
Right.
weren't we going to do some of that in our strategic planning session for commissioners?
Yeah, no, I think so, right? But are there other organizations out there that we can also engage in to help us frame the next steps?
Sure.
Right? Again, Mount Lebanon is phenomenal in so many levels, and I think that, that clearly is reflected, and I think that this is a good baseline to make sure we're doing the core work correctly. But I don't know that it puts us on a path to what we want to be accomplishing. And so it's an interesting, it's great to celebrate, but it also prompts me to ask the question of where next? What other, frameworks are people striving for, outside of Western Pennsylvania or Pennsylvania?
Sounds like something that might be in a staff goal.
Yeah. Well, it's something
And I
to
would
find
say-
out, is there another organization to say, all right, let's say, think about sports. Okay, you won Whitfields, you want to win states. So, all right, so we won essentially the Allegheny League of Municipalities. Okay, is that Allegheny County? Is there statewide honor or something along those lines, go the next level up?
And there are several other, certifications that we get. And I would, to answer Commissioner Flynn's question, I would say that our stretch goals get defined in our comprehensive plan. That's kind of what our goals are for our municipality and where we want to go over the next decade. And as in prior presentations, when I've discussed how many goals of the previous comp plan we completed, that I think we completed 55 of the 58 goals that were in the previous comp plan, and we're currently going through an 18-month planning process to update our comprehensive plan. So I think once, when the commission adopts that new comprehensive plan document later this year, that will really set what our stretch goals are and what we're striving to achieve over the next decade and what we're working towards. So I think some of those, looking at those best practices from a broader perspective, not just locally, is important to the plan. And I think, that was something that we looked for when Commissioner Flynn and the rest of the team reviewed the RFP responses for the comp plan. Was the team we have now has consultants that are part of national organizations and have a national presence and are well known nationally, like with WSP and Yard and Associates and the consultants involved with the plan, help us look kind of beyond just the local region.
Did I hear? I thought I heard a voice coming from over here with another comment. Nicole, any other thoughts? Great. Well, again, congratulations to all on this. We appreciate it. Next on the agenda, boards and authorities. Who's got an update?
I can go. Again, parking board met, hey, there's gonna be EV charging stations in South Lot. But we already covered that. I know. Partnership also met. The only thing I would add to that one is DCED, they're coming in on April 21st to review our Main Street designation. So that is coming. They're also working on design guidelines, facade design guidelines, ultimately to develop a facade improvement program.
CED is?
Yes, they come in, or is it PED? It's a subset of, PDC.
Okay, can
they're
we
coming
spell
out.
out the initial?
I don't know what PDC stands
I mean,
for.
like facades of what?
Building facades, private property, commercial facades.
All right.
Yeah, so they're working on design guidelines for that, to encourage businesses to update their facades.
But update them to the historic standards of the building. That's what the design guidelines typically will do.
Excellent.
And a facade program typically will only give money if you meet those design guidelines.
Right.
Now, I don't know what theirs does,
Yeah,
but
but that's
that's the way it usually works.
Okay, good. That's important. Thank you for clarification.
right, and it's a partnership program.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not us because it's
Right.
private property, so they're trying to encourage businesses.
Right.
And the Parks Board, they are working on park design guidelines, or they're starting to work on park design guidelines, trail design guidelines, and signage. So lots going on in parks as well. They are a great group. I'm very impressed. Move forward.
Cool.
I have ESB updates, HPB, Historic Preservation Board, and Environmental Sustainability Board updates. But lots of boards, lots of stuff going on, and we got the time.
Yes, we've got, the IDA meeting is at 5 to 8, so here you are.
Got some time, but I won't go into too much detail. So the sports, I'll go first with sports. Sports is researching the possibility of temporary lighting, or especially with our turf fields, but this could be a possibility for our school district fields or our municipal fields. As you probably know, the turf fields are in high demand, and with the shorter hours in the day, the number of hours that they can be reserved or used is limited significantly. So if we can add an extra couple hours, on, especially the spring and the fall, when the days are getting a little bit shorter, that could significantly take some pressure off of the rest of our fields and the wear and tear that our grass fields experience, especially Jefferson Middle. So they are looking at generator powered, which I know just generator, I know they are researching generator powered lights and possibly able to come up with a proposal for the municipality and the school district in how to even fund these through kind of creative uses of charging the sports boards that want to reserve the space during that time or something like that. They're still in the research phase. They're going to come back to us with some ideas. My takeaway is that lights are really probably very important. Generator versions is not my first choice, but something to kind of keep on the radar for the municipality moving forward. Does it make sense to add lights to some of our fields? They're also doing a bunch of other work, but next board, HPB, they're very short staffed. Historic Preservation Board, unfortunately, is down to 4 people. They have 7 people on the board. So to meet their quorum, they need every single board member to come to every meeting. So far, we've had that. The reason we're down to 4 is they lost Commissioner Swagger Wilson here. She was on the HPB, And then one person recently resigned. We already had a vacancy back from the summer. The commission intentionally chose not to fill that vacancy because we were waiting for this kind of big restructure and what the timing is. So I think they'll be able to hold tight for another 2 meetings. We got February, we already have our quorum, and then we'll have to make quorum again in March. Then in April, we should be back to 7 with our new appointments. So that kind of also limits the amount of work that they can take on. Environmental Sustainability Board. Yeah.
I do something on the street sign toppers.
Yeah.
I saw, do you have an update on that?
They are
Yeah.
moving forward.
Moving
Yeah,
forward, yeah.
they're being installed and they're being put on the GIS as they're being installed. So they look good, right? There's a couple like little teeny hiccups and things to kind of work out with implementation.
Somebody
details.
already stole one.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, because they're so handsome, because we insisted on a good design, and so, you know.
They're too cool.
Yeah.
Was it imitation is the most sincere form of flattery? There you go.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. It's on my front door. I claim not.
She has literally admitted to every one of our last 3 or 4 meetings, literally.
I know.
I think we need to explain the Fifth Amendment.
She can't afford a lawyer. She's in too much trouble all the time.
Unbelievable.
You're right.
Greater than Miranda rights.
All right, TSB, Environmental Sustainability Board, thank you, Commissioner Flynn, for getting them to such a great place. They
Yeah.
are a joy to work with. They have a sidewalk policy that they just voted out of their board, and so it'll be in review with staff and in its review with the commission now, and we'll decide if we're gonna get it on public discussion and talk about it more. But the gist of the sidewalk policy is to make a lower bar, lower barrier for residents who want a sidewalk to be able to put one in. Right now, there needs to be contiguous agreement between multiple residents. I think we have some number of like
100%.
yeah, 75%, 100%. And this one takes that away completely. If you want a sidewalk and you want to pay the 10% match, there's actually some other calculations, but I'm going to simplify it. If you want to pay the 10% match, assuming there's no other major structural changes, engineering changes that need to happen to put that in, then it will go to the municipality and kind of get in line. And they're also proposing a ranking system for how to rank the funding sources of that. So there's no imaginary money that's going to appear for sidewalk installations. That would have to come from the municipality and the commission and the manager's recommended budget. But this just provides another avenue for residents to get sidewalks should they want to do that. The resident's still responsible for maintaining that, still responsible for, shoveling the sidewalk, still responsible in the same way for the damages to the sidewalks, wear and tear, and replacing it in the future. But now there's a little bit of an easier path forward.
I've read the comments. I have a couple questions, but we covered
We
it
can
different
talk
times.
it
Because
in
I
discussion
suspect
time.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of legal stuff we won't be able to get around regardless of whatever that
Right.
policy is. Not to say we shouldn't do it,
Yeah.
but there's gonna be, because you always have that one resident.
Yeah, well, now it
Sorry.
could just be you can have a sidewalk and I could say, no, I don't want one. We're
Right.
neighbors and that's fine now.
Right.
With this policy, you could put one in and then maybe when my house turns over because I move out or get murdered by the rest of my neighbors who are mad, I don't have a sidewalk.
I didn't do it.
Then
Sorry.
the next person puts a sidewalk and they learned.
So, all right, well.
That's the idea. Yeah, that's, just one more thing about ESB. They were also working on a plastic bag ban for the Mount Lebanon municipality or a fee or some kind of incentive for businesses to discourage them from using plastic or
Bags,
single-use
yeah.
bags.
Mhm.
That is currently on hold right now because as they dug a little deeper into it, not just reading what other municipalities have done, because it is a very common ordinance, but by calling the municipalities and seeing how it's working and how it's playing out and how it plays out to nearby municipalities and what their plastic bag consumption does. There's a lot, it's very, very, very complicated. So we probably won't be seeing anything, we, the commission, won't be seeing anything serious on that anytime soon. And it might be on hold for quite a while. But sidewalk policy is something to look at this year.
Okay, community relations met last week, I can't remember, but Chief Haberman came and spoke to them. There had been a lot of concern through the studies that they had done on DEI about how the police conducted themselves. And I'm happy to say that Chief Haberman did an excellent job. I think they were pretty much blown away by everything that our police department is doing, and I think they felt very much like he had opened a line of communication with them. And it was a home run. I mean, it really was really well done.
And that was recorded, right? You watched that one? All the CRB?
I don't remember. Our CRB? Okay, good. I'm glad somebody knows in this room. Library, it was closed last Wednesday. All staff took state training that was required. Their solar panels are in. Can they read this stuff yet, or they're?
They have to do a final electrical inspection. I think there's. a
That's
couple
right.
other-
They're waiting for the inspector. Thank you.
So, to that end, is there a place where you can see them? It's like when you drive through I drove through
Yeah,
the
can you
parking
see?
lot and I was looking on the roof. I didn't see anything. I didn't know if they're visible.
Not sure because of the parapet. Yeah.
Find out.
But I remember inside, there's supposed to be a display.
And they're waiting for the final inspection so that that can go. I think it's gone live, but not necessarily for anybody other than library staff. I'm not sure, but you know, details.
Anything
Um,
else?
Yep, very quickly, Outreach South has decided that their fundraising gala is May 4th at the Renaissance Hotel, so save the date. We'll expect all of you to be attending, right, Steve? Steve and I will be there.
You're out of town.
Chief Haberman's gonna be there. Come on.
Right.
Excellent.
All right, pressure's on.
Get on there. And finally with Josh is doing a great job of reviewing financials. We have met with him extensively. There was some cleanup needed from past transitions and he's really doing a great job. So that's it. Good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Quick on school board, yeah, they're going through capital projects, turf, Jefferson Field, building, maintenance and replacing some vans and things like that. I don't think they're. Although Andrew may have more recent info than I am sold on the EV project yet, but I think it's on their list.
They talked about it last night.
Yes.
In the school board meeting. They're still working through it.
Yeah, they have a couple months left before budget's done, but I suspect it'll maybe not make the top.
Superintendent search, that's the superintendent. search?
Ongoing.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of goal of when they will have someone on board?
For next year.
For the academic year, in the
Sign
summer.
our leaves.
Yeah, the summer.
All right, anything else? All right, we'll call it the end of the discussion session because it's about that time for the IDA meeting. So we call discussion session adjourned and we now call to order the Industrial Development Authority meeting. And let's see, Commissioner Rainey, could you take item 2, please?
Let me get that one out. There we go. Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Consideration of the minutes from the meeting held November 8th, 2022. I move to approve the minutes.
Second. Motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions, comments? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 3, public comment. Anybody choose to speak? No, okay. Item 4, report of the assistant manager, Mr. McManus, please.
Thank you. The IDA meeting schedule for 2023 is as follows: May 9th, August 8th, and November 14th.
All right, with that, we are adjourned. And we've got a couple minutes before the big show.
Hmm.
Good jobs.